Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Ed Joenka once again, and I'm here with Dana Tyson Burgess, the founder of the Dana Tyson Burgess Dance Company. It's a modern dance company out of Washington, D.C. I think you just performed for the president.
Recently, yes.
Recently performed for the president?
We recently performed for President Obama, which was wonderful. And we were just at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts as well. Mm-hmm. And we're working at the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery now.
Okay. Oh, welcome, Dana.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
great to be here.
It's good to have you in the BVI. And of course, the event is this Saturday, March 15 at 7 p.m. I've been saying 7:30, but it's at 7 p.m. at the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium at Angela Vista Community College. And before you have the dance, the event, you're going to have a student outreach program.
Right.
That's going to be happening on Friday morning at 10:30 in the auditorium. You're going to be talking to the kids about modern dance.
Absolutely. You know, I think one of the things I love to do is lecture demos. Also, we call them lecture demonstrations, where we're really showing part of the dances, what the creative process is, and also explaining what the dances are about. And young people have really wonderful insight into understanding creativity and understanding art in a way that sometimes even adults are, closed off from as we get older.
And the young kids, a lot of young kids now who are into dance generally, into some, the regular traditional dances that we do with the calypso and soca and the hip hop and those kinds of things we see on television. But modern dance is something that we are still now getting used to, I think, and it would be great for the young people to get an understanding of that creative process and what the dance is saying to you.
Sure.
How do you get children to understand that?
Modern dance is a fascinating thing in that I really believe that our core fundamental way of communicating with one another is movement. It's dance, and kids really understand that. And the wonderful thing about modern dance is that it continually expands its vocabulary through different forms of movement which you see all over the world. So it encompasses parts of ballet and parts of jazz and parts of hip hop and capoeira and martial arts, and it creates its own language in a sense that we universally start to understand and recognize.
And we're looking for the emotional expression in the dance. What are we looking for as a point of appreciation?
Sure. With my particular choreography, there is always a journey. It's a story of a human journey that's very universal. So, for example, the works that you'll see on Saturday night are 4 works, and each of them talks specifically about a cycle of emotions that we can all understand. And one is looking at an individual at the moment of death. What is their decision going to be at that moment? How do they relive their lives? Do they fight against death? Do they move with it? Another work is based on my family history of growing up in Hawaii. And my family immigrated to Hawaii in 1903 from Korea to work the sugarcane and sugar plantations of Hawaii. And it's really about my great-grandmother's decision to leave Korea and become an immigrant and try and start a new life as an indentured servant on a plantation in Hawaii. And so it's her personal story. And then the other 2 works, one is about unrequited love, looking back at love. And another work is based on the dance history of America and really looking at different choreographers' perspectives and their life cycles also, what they struggled with in order to be creative artists.
Okay. Now, modern dance, you get the sense that the term modern is somehow now contemporary, as opposed to then, which is ancient, old. Well, yeah. What's the evolution for modern dance? Where they come from?
Sure. I mean, that's a great question. In a way, right now, what we're really saying is contemporary dance. We're sort of moving out of saying modern dance into contemporary. And the reason being is that Modern dance started really like in the 1800s, in the late 1800s, and you hear names like Isadora Duncan, or you go way back in time to a time period when people were looking for a new way of moving, which wasn't restrained by corsets, like the corsets that you know a ballet dancer has to wear, where they're this upright rigidity, because people felt like that doesn't speak to the times that we're in. You know, we're moving into the future, and so modern dance was formed, and it went through many iterations, and nowadays we're starting to call it contemporary dance. Okay. Because we feel that once again we're in this revolution of trying to find new ways of moving which speak to our human stories.
So I guess it came out about the culture of what was it, Puritanism?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Victorianism, Edwardianism, you know, it's this whole corseted lifestyle. And
everything was strict and tight and precise and exact, and anything out of the ordinary was taboo.
Right.
And so we're looking into more freedom of expression. It was,
And I think if you look at the other art forms, if you look at painting, if you look at and listen to music, and even think about trends within psychology, like Freud and Jung, it's like everything was starting to shift at that moment that modern dance comes into being. We have modern painting, modern music, we have different theories about psychology and emotionality, what drives us as humans to either be successful or not. And all those things were also happening within movement, and that's where modern dance comes from.
Resulting from the human need for freedom of expression.
Exactly. Okay. Really, and also looking at the inner landscape. What is our emotional landscape saying, and can we project that and put that out there to audiences? Because up until then it's sort of corseted, and you know, everybody's not able to really say what they want to.
And how do you express yourself in the movement? How do we interpret that expression, that language? What is the language of dance?
I think it's different for, you know, all over the world. It's a little different, right? But the core fundamental is that you know, dance is the sort of first kind of communication which we have, right, between humanity. And it's before language, it's before writing. And so we know when somebody is for example, is like depressed, or is feeling, you know, heartbroken, or when they're feeling really elated. We can tell that difference in just that little movement of the body, right? Or through a gesture, or through a turn of a head or a focus. And that continues to register across all cultures. So when I choreograph, I'm very sensitive to the journeys and the stories I'm trying to tell. And so even if a person says, oh, I don't quite understand that one movement, but I'm feeling open to this story, I can tell that this is somehow about loss, or this is somehow about leaving a group of friends or their community, or this is somehow, and you know, it's just that openness and understanding that we all receive and understand.
So you see fear, you see joy, you see sadness.
Absolutely. You see mystery, you see wonder.
Okay. Now, do you have a goal in for the dance company in terms of what you want to leave the audience with every time you perform?
Someone asked me that just the other day, and I was thinking, I've been thinking about this a lot. What is the optimal goal that I would love for an audience member to have? And that is to leave the theater with a sense of the sublime, a feeling that they saw something beautiful that had a certain sense of mystery in it, and that mystery touched them to start to think about something that's happened in their life journey. Really, I want the audience to feel like...
to have an identification.
Yeah.
In some aspect of the dance.
Exactly.
They identify with that aspect in
their
life.
Yeah, that it opens them up to sensing their inner landscape in a more profound way.
Okay. So what can we expect on Saturday night's performance? Is it going to be fast? Because I was watching some of the dance, and I was listening to some of the music.
Sure.
And you have a lot of drums in some certain aspect of the music that signify some African rhythms, and then you have the modern dance move into African rhythms, which I thought was quite interesting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting juxtaposition.
Well, This
Because you
particular show,
because you usually think of modern dance with classical music,
right, right.
You know.
Well, this performance is different. We have 4 works, and the music is diverse on each one. Each piece of music is different. One of the pieces of music is very modern, and the work is a solo that's very mysterious. This woman dances underneath a veil, and she can't see the whole time, and it's about her trying to express to us what her life was like before she moves into this moment of death. And so it's this very odd, somber journey that occurs. This other work, as I mentioned, it's called Leaving Busan, is about my great-grandmother's journey to move and leave. And that actually is a contemporary score of music which includes traditional Korean instrumentation and drumming in it as well. And then the work Homage, which is dedicated to the dance history of America, it actually has different sound bites of interviews with famous choreographers, famous dancers, and it cuts to different pieces of music that are associated with them. So for instance, it cuts away from Liza Minnelli, and even and all of a sudden you hear a little bit of Saturday Night Live from like John Travolta, and then it goes to an interview by a choreographer talking about how they felt about time and space. So it really sort of jumps, like the mind jumps. I don't think that we ever are thinking in a linear pathway for very long, but we have the ability to move from one thing to another as a trigger. So that's how that piece works. And the last work is entitled Revenant Elegy. And this work was commissioned by the National Gallery of Art recently in relation to the Ballet Russe exhibit, the history of the Ballet Russe. And it really is about a woman looking back at an unrequited love and her sorrows and her trying to come to peace with a love that was lost.
Okay. I want to take a break so we could get a chance to set up a couple of clips.
Okay.
And we could take a look at them and the expression, and perhaps you could go through them and you could sort of like give us a sense of what we are seeing and help us to interpret the dance and what's happening in the scene. We're going to take a break forward from our sponsors and we come back with Dana Tysoon Burgess right after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited and H. Labadee Stout Community College.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm having a very interesting discussion with Dana Tysoon Burgess, the founder of Dana Tysoon Burgess Dance Company. That's going to be performing live at H. Labadee Stout Community College this Saturday, March 15th at 7 p.m. in the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium. You can get your tickets at the usual ticket outlets online, the H. Labadee Stout Community College bookstore, Bella Blooms, Omi Fashions, Easy Pay, and Sunny Caribbean. And the tickets are only $20 and $10 for children. So it's very, very reasonably priced, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be dance. I think that like you've never seen it before. It's going to be very interesting. And as you can hear through our discussion, it's going to be very expressive. And the fun of the dance is the feeling that you get, of course, from the dance and the identification of the part of the dance that relates to you and some of the experiences that you're having in life and the emotion that it evokes in you. And I think you really need to go and see it. And of course, we need to take the kids because we need to expose them to these various art forms. We need to know about it, and we need to expose them. And we have a lot of kids now that want to get into modern dance, and this is a perfect opportunity to see modern dance at its best. We left off on talking about, of course, some of the dances that's going to be seen and what to expect at the concert, at the performance, the live performance. And so I want to go to some of the clips on some of the past performances of the Dana Tysoon Burgess Dance Company, so we could take a look at it and see the expression and have Dana talk a little bit about what we're seeing.
So this work is entitled Fractures, And Fractures really is about a love triangle. And it's this individual who senses that there's someone else close to the man that she's dating or the man that she loves. And you can see that the man is torn between these two situations, and really these three individuals are intrinsically, unfortunately, stuck in this cycle. And the music is, it's very soulful in this particular piece. It's by Arvo Pärt, and it's very sparse. So you can see how the two female dancers move similarly together, and yet they're not the same, and one is in red and one is in is more of an innocent in pink.
And there's an element of sadness.
There is an element of sadness and fight between the two of them. There's struggle because the one in pink knows that the one is red is near, but she never sees her directly.
And the man is sort of torn
between two directions.
And he's not really going in any direction.
Right.
And when the dance is being performed, is there an explanation, or how do we?
Oh, that's a great question. For this particular performance, what I'm going to do is speak a little bit before each dance, explain what the inspiration was, a few things to look for and to consider in watching the dance, and talk a little bit about how the dance was put together. So I'm very excited about being able to speak with the audience about that.
Yeah, and of course that gives the audience the opportunity to enjoy the dance more, because there's nothing like being able to understand what you're looking at. The dancing seems to require quite a bit of athleticism.
Yes.
How difficult is the training, especially for the young persons that are interested in becoming performers of modern dance? How difficult is the training regimen?
It's difficult. I mean, all of our dancers, they started as children. And just like maybe some of the students that are here in the dance studios here as well, they're going several days a week, and then that increases so that they can become a professional and hone their craft. And then they have to maintain their bodies as professionals, so they're going to class, 3 to 5 times a week. And sometimes they're augmenting with yoga, Pilates, different movement styles and forms to upkeep. And then they're in rehearsal. So after they get their fundamental physicality in shape, then they have to work on that emotionality, like what is a subtle emotional gesture versus just a light kick. Yeah, because everybody at a certain professional level can kick a certain height, but do you really want to watch them, and do you want to understand what they're emotionally saying in a subtle way? So I'm very interested as a choreographer in that gradation of emotions between 1 and 10, 1 being just void of emotion and 10 being like over the top, like show tunes, like Vegas style here. But I think that as humans, our daily emotions are ranging somewhere between that 1 and that 10. And I'm very fascinated about how to take that in-between place and show it on stage.
That's quite interesting. Let's take another a look at another dance, a piece of choreography, and see what they're trying to express. So
great.
I don't know, engineer, we can cue up? Yeah.
Oh, this is a work. It's one of my favorite works. This is also an archival work. It's Chino Latino, and this particular work is part of a quartet, a suite of dances, is what I should say. 4 dances, and the music was based on Latin and South American songs which reference Asians who had moved to the Americas, and a whole history of that. And this is another dance from it. This one is more of a tango one. And what was so neat about this work is that I grew up in Santa Fe in New Mexico, and I'm Korean and American, but I grew up in a Latino community. And I've always known, that cultures interact really closely, and I just decided I want to do something that reminds me of when I was growing up. And so I started looking for these pieces of music that reference like this Chinese person, this Japanese person, but they go way back to like the 20s or the 30s. And I just made these dances that are this combination of social dances and modern dance.
And you blend the cultures in the dance,
Right,
with
right.
the Latino culture mixed with the classical
And I think that's
American culture, and
absolutely, and I think that's what's so neat about modern dance and why it started in America is because there are so many different cultures which cohabitate together and learn from one another and are constantly talking about their histories and trying to understand one another and the music they like and the way they like to move.
okay. So coming up, so you have these 4 particular dances that you're going to do.
Right.
Any of them going to be fast? Or some of the movements
right,
are
so many.
slower. Is it anything? Because for example, in the African tradition, dance
Yeah.
tradition, there's a
Sure.
lot of fast movement.
Absolutely,
the
like-
rhythms are quick. The drumming.
Yeah.
The bass.
You know, it's interesting. It's a little different than that. It's you'll hear drumming, like I said, in one of the pieces, but the drumming is a little bit more like the heartbeat of an individual, you know? And so I think my works are really known for their poetic quality and their quiet, almost meditative quality. And so somebody goes in really thinking about, I'm about to enter the inner emotional landscape of somebody, and I'm going to find stories there in a jewel box. That's what they should really think about in going in for this show.
Okay, and we're certainly going to look forward to the performance.
Oh, thank you.
This weekend, and I mean, I know we're going to look forward to having the explanations, so we're able to understand the dances and appreciate the range of emotions that you're going to bring to the audience, and be able to identify ourselves in the dance or aspects of our experience in the dance. It's going to be a great experience.
Thank you so much, Adjuanka, for having me.
Yes, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And welcome to the BVI, and I hope that while you're here, you get a chance to see a little bit of the beautiful landscape of the BVI and enjoy
definitely.
yourself.
Thank you.
Cool. Dana Tyson, I know I was going to mix them together, but Dana Tyson Burgess, he's the founder of the Dana Tyson Burgess Dance Company out of Washington, D.C. He's had, his group is, how many members in your group?
10.
10 members in your group. His group is here this weekend on Saturday, March 15th at 7 p.m. in the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium. Also, the student outreach, parents, bring your kids to the auditorium at 10:30 on Friday morning. He's going to have a discussion with the kids, talking about modern dance and how they can get involved and what it takes to be a modern dancer or a contemporary dancer. The range of emotions, expression, and athleticism that you have to have. So you need to bring the kids out, teachers, bring the school children out 10:30 in the morning to meet with Dana and talk about modern dance, contemporary dance. And of course, again, Saturday night at HLSCC Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium, 7 o'clock is going to be a great time. You need to come and check it out. It's only $20 for adults and $10 for students, and the show starts 7 p.m. promptly. You could get your tickets at Omi Fashions, the HLSCC Bookstore, Lime, Bella Blooms, Easy Pay, and Sunny Caribbean. We're going to come back with Dana Lewis Ambrose, lecturer at H11T Subcommittee and author of the book Moving from Infancy to Young Adulthood, a contemporary review of the development of the Virgin Islands. Make sure you're here. There's going to be a lot of interesting facts and discussions that we're going to have, and you're going to want to know all about development, where we came from, and where we are headed. We'll be right back with more Spotlight right after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the BVI Tourist Board, and CCT Global Communications.